Okay, good afternoon, 3-2.
Good afternoon po, sir.
Good afternoon po.
All right. So for today's discussion is about big broad. Okay, so we'll talk about the Holy Trinity of photography. So before we start, let me gauge your familiarity first. Okay, so in a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself, where 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, your familiarity and the Holy Trinity of photography, the aperture, shutter speed, and idle. Okay, so utilize the chat box to send in your answers. Okay, I want everyone to answer. Okay, so I'm asking about your familiarity. Now, let me ask you, what is your experience in actually using this Holy Trinity, this three? Okay, so in a scale of 1 to 10 again, rate your um your usage or your actual time spent using manipulating these three variables. Okay? So if you are a professional photographer, so probably 10 yung sagot mo. Pero how much time, okay, you actually spent manipulating these three variables? Okay, you can answer now. Scale of 1 to 10 again. Okay, so our goal for today's session, yung mga nagsagot ng 1 and 2, our goal is yung 1 nyo, gawin nating 10 yan. Okay ba sa inyo yon?
Sir.
Hello?
Amen.
Alright. So, di ba? Parang networking lang. Yung 10, yung 15K mo, gawin nating 15K ko. Okay ba yun? So, yeah, yan yung goal natin for today's session. Okay, so here it is. I know this looks hieroglyphics. It doesn't make sense yet to you. Yung nakikita nyo sa harap, di ba, yung mga Egyptian writing pa siya. But as we go on, you'll be able to understand this writing and you'll be able to have this, okay, be able to make sense to you. So let's talk about the Holy Trinity of photography. So the aperture, the shutter speed, and the ISO. So what are these three variables? And how to balance this? Okay, so yun yung gagawin natin. Magbabalance tayo. Para tayong bumalik sa accounting, sa bookkeeping, okay? Where we will balance these three so that our pictures, okay, is not overexposed or underexposed, just properly exposed. Ayan na nga. Hindi man this one. Okay, there you go. So let's talk first about the shutter speed. Okay. So here, it's the speed, the amount of time where the camera shutter or the shutter looks like a curtain. okay, that is covering the sensor of our camera. So camera sensor or film to the exposure of the light. The shutter speed is the amount of time that it is open. So it can range to as fast as to 1/2000 of a second. So imagine how fast is that. Yung 1 second, i-divide mo sa 2,000. Then, one glimpse of that will be the opening of the shutter speed. Okay? So, fun fact, just for you to have a comparison, the average speed of our average blade is 1/10 of a second. So if that's 1/10 of a second, it's barely noticeable. So just imagine how fast 1/2000 of a second. Now, it can also range from as high as long as around 15 to 20 seconds. Okay. So there are certain types of shutter speed that we need to do to gather certain photo that we need to have the shutter open for 15 to 20 seconds. So later we'll explore all of that. So a faster shutter speed of 1/1000 of a second freezes fast-moving subjects, while a slower shutter speed of 1 second. So 1 second is considered a slow shutter speed. Now, the logic here, class, is that so you won't be confused. The longer the opening of the shutter, the more light it collects. Got it? So tendency, the shorter the opening of the shutter, just like 1/500 of a second, sobrang bilis nun. So, less opportunity to collect light. So, yun yung imamanipulate natin. The collection of light. How lighter or how brighter it is. Okay, so you get the logic. The longer the opening, the more light it collects. The slower, the faster the opening, the less light it collects. So thumbs up if that logic is clear to you, class. Okay. All right. So clear. So here's an example of 1.67 shutter speed compared to 1/500 of a second. Okay, so you're able to freeze the image, the moving water in that particular shutter speed. So 1/500 of a second is considered fast, while 1.6 is slow. Okay, let's examine this picture here. So we'll able to identify or recognize the power of shutter speed. So type to sa chat box kung ano yung nakikita nyong shutter speed sa image na to based on the file info. Yes, 1/2000 of a second. So this is a moving electric fan. So that's a very fast moving object, but we're able to freeze it by manipulating the shutter speed. Here, another image that let's examine. The shutter speed is 1/500 of a second. So freeze the, we're able to see the details in her hands, even though she is actually dancing with fire, okay, manipulating this, doing the fire dance. But because of the shutter speed that we have, we're able to freeze the details in that image. Okay, so here it is. The faster the shutter speed, the better image quality of a moving object. And of course, the longer the shutter speed is open, the blurry the moving object. And again, we already understand that the faster the shutter speed, the less light it collects. The longer the shutter speed, the more light it collects. Okay, now let's proceed to the ISO. So this is the camera's sensitivity to light. Okay, so a higher ISO allows for better performance in low light. So the ISO values can vary from even 50, 100, 200, and it can reach as high as 6,400 ISO. Okay, so the higher the ISO number, the more sensitive it is to light. Got it? So if you are doing a night photography, you don't want your sensor, you want your sensor to use all the light it could get. So therefore, you increase the ISO. So if it's night photography, you might use ISO around 1,200, 1,600, 3,200, or even as high as 6,400. But if you are capturing image on daylight, okay, 9 a.m. in PUP oval, that's very bright. So you don't want your sensor to be sensitive to light. Therefore, you choose the lowest possible ISO. It still depends on your subject. But for a very bright environment, you use the lower number ISO, 100, 200, okay, but not more than 800. So that is the numerical value in the correlation of numerical value of ISO, okay? The less number, the less sensitive, the more sensitive it is to light. So therefore, the less number tendency is dark, okay? So the more number, more bright. Now, imagine this class. It's already 12 noon. Then you use 3,600 ISO on your camera. What will be the tendency? Daytime, 3,600 ISO. 3,600 is a very high number. Therefore, your sensor becomes very sensitive to light. So what will be the tendency to the image that you are trying to capture? Very good, overexposed. So your image will be overexposed. Now, let's flip the scenario. Nighttime. Okay, so let's say 8 p.m. sa Interfaith Chapel, 8 p.m. And then less light, di ba? Madilim. So then you use ISO 100. Okay? So ISO 100 naging less sensitive pa siya lalo sa light. So kahit may light, hindi niya na nakikita. So what is the tendency to the image? If it's nighttime and you use a very low ISO, what's the tendency to our image? It will become, are you getting it, class? I just provided you example in the opposite side of the spectrum. If it's overexposed in bright and 3.6, magiging underexposed. Yes, correct. Madilim, dark, or in our term, it will become underexposed. Got it? So we called it underexposed. So we have three category in image output. It can be overexposed, underexposed, or just properly exposed. Okay, clear, class? Thumbs up. All right. So here are some example of Okay, so here is, even though it's nighttime, we still need to consider some variables such as, are we taking a picture of an actual light? So if it's an actual light, the image can be very bright. Okay, so 100 ISO is enough because you are taking a picture of an actual lamp. So kapag in-increase mo pa yung ISO, magkakaroon na siya ng noise or grainy effect. So here is an actual effect of an ISO to an image. So ito medyo ano na siya, medyo madilim na siya. Dapit hapon na, kaya magagabi na siya. So therefore, pag magagabi na, tataasan mo natin gradually yung ISO natin so that our image will be properly exposed. Okay? So madilim na, mababang ISO pa ginamit mo. So super, ito na yung maging result na underexposed. So pag madilim, the darker it gets, the higher ISO you will use. Okay. Now here's another. Okay. So notice the very high ISO here. So nagkaroon na nga siya ng ano, grain or noise, a little bit of noise. Kasi uh, umabot na ng 6,400 yung ISO. Kasi bar to eh, madilim talaga dito. And you're able to see the usage of a very high ISO. Kung 6,400 na yung ISO natin, medyo dark pa rin yung image. What more 100? So kung 100 ISO ginamit natin dito, wala na tayong makikita. Puro dark na lang siya. Okay? Now let's proceed to aperture, the next in the Holy Trinity. So then after we discuss the aperture, let's correlate those three to each other on how we'll be able to balance it. Now here in aperture, it is measured as f-stop. F-stops controls the size of the lens opening through which light passes. So it also affects the depth of field in an image. So common aperture values includes f-stop 1.4, f-stops 1.8, or just simply aperture 5.6, and so on. So it can range from as low as 1.4, pero may mas mababa pa dyan depending on the lens, or it can range from 20. Okay? F-stops 20. So a wider aperture, the lower the number. So this is the confusing part. Okay? The lower the number of aperture, the bigger the opening of the lens. Got it? So the now the higher the number of the aperture, the smaller the opening. Okay, so here it is. So we're able to understand it more. Ito. So an aperture 1.4 has a very big opening. So therefore, if it has a big opening in our lens, the tendency is the more light it collects. Okay? And the bigger the aperture number, just like this f-stops 22 and the opposite side of the spectrum, the smaller the opening of the lens. Diba? Parang kabaliktaran, counterintuitive. But if you're able to understand it, you're able to analyze it so that you will be able to relate it. Okay? So the lower the number in the aperture, the bigger the opening of the lens. The higher the number in our aperture, the smaller the opening. Though I'll give you a copy of this presentation so you can review. So clear ba class? relationship ng numerical value ng aperture sa opening ng lens. Okay, so here, let's examine these three photos here. Uh, so we use an aperture of 4 versus 11. So in 4, we're able to have the blurry image effect, blurry background effect that we are looking for, or the bokeh effect or bokeh effect compared to the F11. Now here is the gist. So we can easily understand the aperture or here's the mnemonic device. Parang Roy G. Biv sa rainbow. Kung ilan yung numerical value sa ating aperture, yun din yung number of object that we want to focus. Got it? So, if this is our f-stops 4, therefore, ang number ng image that we are looking for is also around 4 that we want to focus. Okay? Wait lang. Delete natin to. So therefore, if yung aperture value mo is around 11, then close to 11 then yung object that we are trying to focus. Got it? Kaya nga kapag nagtitake ka ng picture, usually yung aperture niya is around 1.8, 1.4, meaning yung person lang na yon yung gusto mong mag-focus yung camera. So, isa lang yung kinukuha mo ng picture, the rest, blurry background. So, yung aperture mo is around 1, 1.4, 1.8, 1.6. Kapag gusto mo naman kuha ng picture, let's say 20 people, then i-increase mo rin yung aperture na close to 20. So, probably aperture, magawin mong 15 or 16. Yan. Kung ano yung number ng aperture, yun yung number ng object or na gusto mong kunan ng picture. Na-guess nyo ba yung connection class? Parang ano lang yan natin, pa cheat sheet natin para if you want to take a picture of one person, then one aperture is close to 1. Are you getting the connection class? Thumbs up if yes. All right. Okay. Okay, going back. Ito, yung aperture niya is 22. And we can see that the number of object that was focused in this picture is close to 22. So probably mga 15, 16 objects yung na-focus. Close to 22. Okay, ito naman is si Ma'am Reggie. Yung aperture niya is 1.8. Kasi close to 1.8 yung object na gusto nating i-focus. So probably 1 to si Ma'am, di ba? Then the rest, yung hands ito, can compensate to 0.8. So we're able to focus and blur the rest. Kaya sikat yung mga camera na kayang mag-emit ng aperture na mababang aperture. Though that is more expensive camera. Yung mga stock lenses ng mga DSLR, I think nasa around 2.5 lang ang aperture maximum opening na aperture. So kaya kailangan mong bumili ng lens na kayang mababang aperture. Okay, yan. So let's compare it to kung yung metaphor or yung connection na shutter speed is pag-blink. Ang connection ng aperture sa mata natin is yung pag-dilate ng pupils. Okay? So on normal days, ganito yung tsura ng pupil natin. But if you want to focus on something or someone, nagkakaroon ng dilation yung pupils natin. Malaki yung pupil natin. Kasi we really want to focus to that particular object. Diba? So, napapansin nyo ba, class, yung pag-dilate ng pupil nyo? Are you able to notice that? Kapag napapansin nyo na may nagpo-focus ka sa isang item, then the rest nagiging blurred background, yun, nagda-dilate yung pupil mo. So, same concept of, yes, kaya sa pusa, yan, nagda-dilate sila, diba? Pag before they attack, they focuses on that particular object. So, lahat ng focus nila doon lang. And ano rin to, kung napapansin nyo, class, kapag um, na naka face to face nyo yung taong gusto nyo or yung crush nyo, tendency is nagda-dilate yung mata nyo kasi siya lang yung nakikita mo. Nagiging blurred yung lahat. So therefore, pag nakita mo yung taong gusto mo, magda-dilate yung mata mo. Okay? Nagkakaroon ng bokeh effect. Siya lang nakikita mo. The rest, nag-blur background. Diba? So yon. Kaya, paano mabisto yung tao na may gusto sa'yo? Eh, tingnan mo yung mata niya. Kapag nag-dilate yung mata niya, lumaki yung pupil niya. Ibig sabihin, may gusto siya sa'yo. Kasi nagpo-focus lang siya sa'yo. The rest, nagiging background. Pag nakikita ka niya. Di ba? Amazing. Yun yung mga involuntary movement na hindi natin nakokontrol na nabibisto ka. Nabibisto tayo kasi nagda-dilate yung mata natin without us having control of it. So yun ang connection ng aperture sa ating pupils. So yun, yung kanina na hieroglyphics. Ngayon siguro at least kahit papaano nagme-make sense na to sa inyo, 'di ba? So, ito yung team dark. Team dark to. Team dark. Sa aperture, the higher the number, the smaller the opening, 'di ba? So, tendency less light it can collect. Kaya team dark yung 32 aperture, 22 aperture, 16 aperture. Now, here is in shutter speed, the faster the opening, the slower, the less light it can gather. So, sobrang bilis ng 1/1000 of a second, ba? Parang a blink of an eye times 100, di ba? Ganun kabilis. So, less light, less opportunity for light to reach the sensor. Therefore, kabilang siya sa team dark. Now, sa ISO naman, the less the number, the ISO, the less sensitive it is to light. Therefore, the lower the number, the the less yung pake niya sa ilaw. So wala siyang pake sa ilaw. The lesser the number. So team dark sila. Ito yung mga variables na madidilim. Now, ito naman yung variables na can say na neutral lang. Hindi naman lahat ng environment na kukunan natin ng picture is very dark or very bright. Diba? Meron din naman mga neutral places or neutral lighted environment such as indoor, sala nyo, hindi naman ganun kadilim doon, hindi naman ganun kaliwanag or sa loob ng classroom, okay? So ayun yung mga neutral places. Ito naman yung mga very bright, so bright, team light. So, Yan, ibahin din natin para consistent. Yan, dim light. So, the lower the number of the aperture, the bigger the opening of the lens. Diba? 1.4, sobrang laki niyan. Parang sakop niya na buong lens. So, more opportunity for light to enter. More opportunity for light to be collected. Okay? Dito naman sa ating shutter speed, 1/2 of a second. In the context of photography, matagal na yan. Okay? Matagal nang naka-open yung shutter mo niyan. 1/2 of a second. So, dim bright din siya. What more yung 5 seconds or 10 seconds? Okay? Or 15 seconds. 15 seconds na naka-open yung shutter mo. So, napakaliwanag nun. Then, dito naman sa ating ISO, the higher the number, the more sensitive it is to light. Okay, so 6.4 ay sensitive yan sa light. 12.8 sensitive yan sa light. Okay, so that's the connection of this image here. May quiz kayo later dito. Every item quiz related dito. So, I hope you can follow. Do you have a question before we proceed? No? All right. Okay, now let's examine this picture and let's see if it is balanced. So we have the three variables, di ba? Yung Holy Trinity, ISO, shutter speed, then the aperture. We're still missing kasi hindi natin mababalance yung tatlo. May butal. So we'll add another variable which is the environment, okay, or the surroundings of the picture that we'll be taking. Okay, so apat na yun. Yan, pwede nang i-balance, di ba? So ang logic is dalawang bright then dalawang dark para properly expose yung image natin. So let's examine that in this image. So 1/500 of a second. Mabilis yan. Therefore, less light it can gather. So 1/500 of a second is dim dark. Dark siya. Now, ano yung another dark? Is the environment. So dalawa na yung dark natin. The environment and the shutter speed. Sila yung dark natin dalawa. To balance this image, kailangan yung dalawang remaining variables is dim light or bright yung other remaining variables. So f-stop, f-stops 1.8 or aperture 1.8, is it bright or dark? 1.8, utilize the chat box. Madilim ba o maliwanag yung aperture 1.8? Yes, bright. So we have 1. How about the ISO 1600? Is it dark or bright? Okay, so it's also bright. So our image is just properly exposed. Okay, we're able to balance those 4 variables. The surrounding is dark, the shutter speed is dark, the ISO is light, and the aperture is bright. So too dark, too light. Therefore, our image is properly exposed. Here's another example. Okay, here we have ISO 100. So it's dark. Okay, and ISO and the shutter speed is 1,3200 of a second. So it's dark also. Okay, dark, dark. And the aperture 5.6 is still considered bright. And the environment here is also bright. So we're still able to capture a properly exposed image. So it's still too dark and too bright. So here naman, extreme example, 9:47 a.m. in broad daylight. So we have the environment bright. What's another variable that is bright in this image? Utilize the chat box. What's another bright variable? Okay, very good. Aperture. So therefore, to balance those up, we make the other remaining variables dark. The shutter speed of 640th of a second and the ISO 100. Those variables are very dark. Okay, so we're able to have a properly exposed image. Okay, so let's notice this. So 2:37 p.m. Okay, so ito yung sinasabi ko na sa aperture, di ba? 1.8 yung ginamit na aperture natin. So, ang logic is around 1.8 din yung item na finocus natin. Therefore, yung first object na focus natin yung cellphone. Then, yung 0.8 to compensate with the hand, just her hands. Okay, so that is 1.8 aperture. So 1.8 is bright. The environment is uh, bright. ISO 400, it's still considered as dark. And 1/1000 of a second is very dark. So we're still able to capture a properly exposed image. So ito nga, yung we can say that this image is underexposed. Then may grainy effect na siya. Nagkaroon na siya ng noise. Kasi OA na yung ISO dito kasi 6.4, di ba? 6.4. Kaya naging underexposed siya kasi ang shutter speed natin is 1/2000 of a second. That's very dark. Then the environment is madilim talaga din sa sa loob ng classroom sa PUP. Okay? So we have too dark, but if we adjust the ISO here to around 3200, we can still be able to have a properly exposed image. So yun lang, yung parang magbo-bookkeeping ka class, 'di ba? Dapat yung dalawa balance. Or pwede naman across the board neutral, 'di ba? So indoor ka, then yung ISO mo is around 600 or 800, then shutter speed mo 1/60th of a second. Then your aperture is around 3 or 4. So lahat neutral, balance pa rin 'yun. I'm just showing you extreme examples so that we'll be able to understand the correlation of each variable and effect of each variable to each other. Ito, underexposed din to kasi um, it's dark time and the aperture is, even though that's the biggest opening of a lens, it still did not compensate to the um, actual environment. So pag madilim talaga, dapat talaga lens mo can be able to capture or reach maximum opening. So dapat 1.4 yung aperture para ma-compensate yung ISO. Kasi pag yung max opening ng aperture mo is 1.8, you need to find ways to make it bright. Okay? So, kung max mo 1.8, wala kang choice kundi increase yung ISO. Ang tendency is magkakaroon ng noise. So, depende talaga yan sa camera lens mo. Kung yung camera lens mo is can reach 1.2 or 1.4 na aperture, then hindi ka mafo-force na taasan yung ISO. Hindi ka mafo-force na magkakaroon ng grainy effect yung images mo. So, depende pa rin yan sa pagtitimpla nyo, guys. Okay, here's an example of a 15 seconds, okay, shutter speed using your mobile phone. Kasi may activity tayo dito. So, don't worry if you don't have DSLR. You can use the Pro mode of your camera where you can manipulate the aperture, the ISO, and the shutter speed. So example here, ang shutter speed ko dito is 15 seconds. So imagine how long naka-open yung shutter, naka-expose yung sensor. 15 seconds, ang tagal nun. So that is blindingly bright. Napakaliwanag nun. So, ang aperture ko is 1.79. Maliwanag din yun. Dalawang bright. So ano sa tingin nyo yung environment where I took this picture? Is it very dark, dark, neutral, bright, or very bright? To balance this variable. So those three variables is in front of you. What you need to figure out is the remaining variable, which is the environment. Ano sa tingin nyo yung environment where I captured this picture? Okay, yes. Dark to very dark. Okay? To compensate for the 15 seconds. Gagawin nyo to, class. Okay? So, hahanap kayo ng madilim na room, almost pitch black. Madilim talaga. Actually, the answer here is very dark. Very dark yung room na to. To the point, for me to capture this image, nilagyan ko pa ng uh, reinforcement curtain o second layer ng curtain yung bintana namin para wala talagang makapasok na ilaw. Then, if yun na yung ano, yung environment nyo, very dark na, you set the aperture to the maximum opening, 1.79, or if you can go lower than that, that's better. Then set your shutter speed to 15 seconds. Then the ISO is make it dark, okay, to compensate to the very dark environment. And then for 15 seconds, get a candle, a flashlight, or your lighter. Lighter lang yung ginamit ko dito. Then write your name. So this is the logic behind light painting. Okay, so ang gagawin nyo, class, yung first letter ng first name nyo. Got it? Hanap kayo ng madilim na lugar, set the right variables, then write your name for 15 seconds. Then the result will look like this. Just make sure that your phone is stable. Hindi mo na pwedeng ipahawak. Diba? Sabi mo, oy, pahawakan mo naman yung cellphone ko kasi mag-take ako ng long exposure picture of me for 15 seconds. Hindi nyo pwede ipahawak. Kasi any minimal movement will compromise the actual input. So, kailangan nyo ng tripod or kailangan nyo ng something stable to put your phone to para hindi siya gumagalaw for 15 seconds. Okay? So make sure lang tas na kakausapin nyo yung magulang nyo or yung tao sa bahay nyo. Ay, may ano po kami, activity po kami sa sa BidProd, basic photography. Long exposure ng name namin. Kasi baka pag ma-caught off guard sila, di ba? Nasa madilim na kwarto ka, then may hawak kang kandila for 15 seconds, then winawagay-wagay mo. So pag nakita nila, baka magtaka sila kung ano yung ginagawa mo, di ba? Or baka isipin nila may sinasamon ka na yeah. So, kausapin mo sila, ma'am, may gagawin akong long exposure picture of me. So, ang mahirap dito, yung may mga first name na it'll start with letter A. Mahirap yon. Pinakamadali yung L. or C. Yan, madali lang yan. Okay, so gagawin nyo talaga siya. Okay? So let's have yan, ito. Let's examine more po to. Do you think it is underexposed, properly exposed, or overexposed? This image here. Utilize the chat box. Yan, overexposed. Let's check why. Okay, so kaya siya overexposed kasi hindi balanced. Notice the variable. Anong mali? So it's 7:35 a.m. So tirik na yung araw niyan. Notice the variables, then tell me why it is overexposed. Write in the chat box your answer. Okay, very good. So very good, Luis. Ayan, in-examine niya yung lahat ng variables, di ba? Hindi balance kasi yung tatlong variables is nasa bright side. The aperture 1.8, the ISO 1600, the environment is bright, then isa lang yung dark, yung 1/250th of a second. So hindi kinaya ng shutter speed i-compensate lahat. Natalo siya ng tatlong bright. Isa lang yung dark. Yes, correct. ISO is a big number para sa environment. So dapat from, from 1600, ginawa nating nasa ano yan, 100, 200, at most 300. Kaya siya naging overexposed. So, very good class. You're able to identify what's wrong with an image by simply studying or analyzing the four variables. Okay, notice what do you think is the variable that was used in this picture? I mean, the ISO. What is the possible ISO in this picture? Okay, I want everyone to answer. What do you think is the ISO? So sa ano to? Sa lagoon, ay sa oval during national simultaneous earthquake drill or NSAD. Okay, yung pinakamalapit yung tama. Let's check. Okay, very good analogy. Yon, 100 lang yung ISO. So notice the balancing. Environment bright, aperture bright. So the remaining two is dark. Should be dark. ISO 100 is dark. And shutter speed of 1,000, what 1/640th of a second is dark also. Okay, so you are getting it. Okay, now I want everyone to answer. Okay. Huwag nyo munang ipipress yung enter. Sabay-sabay kayong mag-press ng enter. Now, identify the closest or the possible ISO for this image. It is in claro M recto. Usually, it gets very dark there. So, if that's the case, what is the ISO in this image? I want everyone to answer simultaneously. Okay. So, type your answer in the chat box. Then, when I say enter, enter your answer. Okay. So, thumbs up if clear. Identify the ISO of this image. All right. So, everyone, please enter your answer. Okay. So we're able to identify who are having hard time in identifying the concept of ISO. So the surrounding is very dark, is dark already. So we cannot use an ISO of less than 200 here. Okay? So yung may mga answer na 100, 200, that is incorrect. Make sure na mataas yung ISO natin to compensate for the dark surrounding. Got it? Okay. So, very good yung mga nagsagot ng 1-6. Okay. Um, 3-2. Okay, perfect to si ano, si Luis. 3-2 yung ISO niya. So, that's the logic behind it, class. Okay, do not use low ISO in a dark surrounding kasi magiging underexposed na yung image natin pag yun yung ginamit mo. Okay. So, now, I want you to write all those four variables. Okay? Giveaway ko na yung isang variable which is the environment is very bright kasi sa ano to, sa oval to during the NSED. So write the remaining possible variable to compensate for the bright environment, bright surroundings. Okay? So, ang magiging format ng sagot nyo is um, dark, then colon, ano yung dark na variable, then light, ano yung light na variable. Okay? So sabay-sabay ulit tayo mag-press ng enter. But you have time to answer it. Okay, I'll give you time to answer it. Okay, thumbs up kung may sagot na kayo. Okay. How about the others? Ang hulaan nyo lang is yung kung ano yung ISO, possible ISO dito, possible aperture, and possible shutter speed.
Ay, sir, number yung ano, sir, hindi yung
Ah, yes,
standard
number.
wallet.
Yes, the variables. So, ulit, I'll give you time. So, given na yung environment, ilalagay nyo na lang kung ano yung possible aperture, shutter speed, and ISO of this image. So, I'll give you another time to draft your answer. Okay, so everyone, please enter your answer. Aperture 11. Let's see kung sino yung pinakamalapit. Okay, given ang environment ba? Bright. So therefore, and dapat given na rin yung ISO. Dapat mababa yung ISO to compensate for the bright environment. And also, dapat given na rin yung aperture, 'di ba? Around ilan ba yung item or image or object na finocus natin dito, 'di ba? Dapat malapit sa 1. So, magkakatalo na lang tayo sa shutter speed. Kasi dapat yung shutter speed natin is dark. So that ISO dark, ISO natin dark, ang shutter speed natin dark kasi yung environment tsaka aperture pareho na silang bright. Okay, so let's check kung sino yung may pinakamalapit na sagot. So ISO 100 and aperture 1.8. Then, kung yung shutter speed nyo is around 1/1000 of a second or 1/500 of a second, then that is correct. Yun, pwede to. Yung kay Thea. Okay. Yan. Yung iba sa inyo, dinistribute yung darkness ng shutter speed. Okay. And ginawa yung semi-neutral yung shutter speed and ISO. Okay. That will also do. Possible din yun kasi so we have um, bright, then dalawang neutral. It's still overexposed. Pero if you do the extreme dark, extreme light, then dalawang neutral, yun, pwede pang maging properly exposed yung image natin. Ito, yung mga nagsagot ng mataas na aperture, please reconsider your answer. Kasi 'di ba sa aperture, the number of object, yung explain ko kanina, 'di ba? Yung variable sa aperture correlates to the number of object that we are focusing. Kung sagot mo 5.6, are we focusing on around 5 objects here? I believe we're only focusing on one. Okay, so yung nagsagot ng aperture ng 1 point something, so yun yung correct answer. Okay, here's another one. Provide use this format here, the format of Thea in answering this image. Yan, ganyang format. And try to identify what is the environment, the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO of this image. I'll give you some time to do it. Thumbs up if you have an answer already. Do not enter it. Okay, 1 more minute to finalize your answer. Okay, enter your answers, everyone. Okay. Mhm. Let's see. Okay, so we have here, yan. Let's check muna yung ano niya, yung aperture. Hmm. Carry, 11. Isang object lang yung ano, buong Jenga. Baka binilang mo yung per piece. So that's considered one object. Pag around 1 point something, tama yon. So, ISO, let's check. Okay. Though, hindi naman siya, ano class, hindi naman siya very bright. Bright lang siya. Kasi, indoor lang, indoor pa rin yan. Okay? So, wala naman nagje-Jenga outdoor, di ba? Indoor lang. I'm not sure kung meron, pero usually, in the normal setting, nasa sala yung Jenga, di ba? Naglalaro ka ng Jenga. So, yun. Indoor siya, so, pwedeng hindi mo i-max to the dark side yung ISO. So, pwedeng ano lang. Nasa neutral side yung ating ISO. So, yan, very good. May nagsagot ng 800 na ISO. And, okay. So, able to get this. Okay, ito naman. Examine this image, then identify the four variables. So, I'll give you another time. Okay, you can now enter your answers. Everyone, please participate. Okay, let's start with the ISO. Yon, very good, LJ. Anthony. Okay, mga nag-3-2, pwede rin yan. Okay. At least hindi wala nagsagot ng ISO 100. Then, uh, yes, dark to very dark yung environment. And aperture 1.8, 1.8. Okay, very good, very good. And the shutter speed on 1,000 of a second. Ayan. 1,500 of a second. So, well, perfect si Thea. Got it across the board. All right. So I think you are ready for a 20 item quiz. Ready na kayo, class? Then napakadali lang yan. Ito, review muna. True or false lang? My God. Pati true or false. Kailan katakutan nyo. Okay, so ito. Answer it. Sabay-sabay tayo mag-press ng enter. So, ito daw yung apat na variables na to, properly exposed. Modified true or false na. So, kung, for example, if it's false, then what is the right exposure? Is it overexposed or underexposed? Okay, so study this variable and ang result daw ng variables na to is properly exposed. So, if it's false, then what is it? Overexposed or underexposed? Okay, thumbs up if you are ready to see your answer. Modify true or false. Kapag true, then true lang sagot nyo. Pag false, then what is the exposure? Overexposed, underexposed, or properly exposed? I want everyone to answer. Sabay-sabay. Okay? Para ma-check na natin ngayon pa lang. So, 1, 2, 3. Enter your answer. Yon. Yung nagsagot ng false, wrong yan kasi walang reason kung bakit false. False, overexposed ang format ng sagot. Okay, so the answer is false, overexposed. Wala namang nagsagot ng true. Okay, so Irish. Yan. Okay, so hindi siya true. False siya. Paano siya naging true? Very bright na. Then, Sorry. Yan. Yan yung sagot ko. Finding variables. So, across the board, maliwanag. So, yung pag nag-take ka ng picture using the variables, white lang yung makikita mo. Okay, so it is false, overexposed. Next sample. Yan. Is it properly exposed? So, 1, 2, 3, enter your answer. Okay, very good. So, pag true, 2 points. True lang ilagay nyo. 2 points na yan. Okay, next. Okay, 20 seconds to answer. Wala, nagyan ko ng timer. I'll give you 30 seconds each item to answer. Okay, enter your answer. Okay. Yes, correct. Kasi ano siya, false, underexposed, and dark lang. Tatlo yung dark, isa lang yung bright. Yung aperture lang yung bright. So, false, underexposed siya. Okay, so get a scratch paper, a clean piece of paper for your quiz.
Kahit anong paper po, no, sir, basta malinis.
Yes. Pipicturean nyo yan, isend nyo sa GC after ng quiz before nyo checkan. Kahit sa notebook lang. Okay, thumbs up if you have a paper. Write a number 1 to 10. Write your name and section, just like how you will have your short quiz. It's 10 item to 2 points each. So total of 20 items. So, ganito yung magiging setup natin, class. It's a timestamp system, meaning each item that you will answer, ita-timestamp nyo sa chat box natin. Pero, hindi naka-everyone. Naka-PM lang sa akin. So, item number one, for example, pinakita ko sa inyo, you have 30 seconds to answer it. Then, once you're done writing your answer in your paper, ipi-PM nyo sa akin sa chat box yung sagot nyo for timestamp purposes. Ibig sabihin, kailangan synchronize yung nilagay nyo sa paper nyo sa timestamp nyo dito sa chat box kung ano yung piniem nyo sa akin. So hindi nyo na pwedeng mabago yung nalagay nyo sa papel. Okay? Kasi kailangan synchronize yun sa piniem nyo sa akin sagot nyo sa item number 1. So timestamp system ang tawag doon. So for example, nagsagot ka ng item number 1, false underexposed. Sinulat mo sa papel mo. Then, PM sa akin, false underexposed. So, yun yung timestamp mo sa item number 1. And so on and so forth. Now, after the exam, i-PM, i-picturean nyo yung papel nyo at isi-send nyo sa GC. Tapos, yun na rin yung final paper nyo before natin check that. Okay, so that's how you do uh, quiz during Zoom. You will use the timestamp framework. Okay, do you have a question? So I'll flash the item, each slide one item, then answer it in your paper, then PM me your answer. Simple, right? Okay, now here's the item number 1. 30 seconds. Modified true or false. Thumbs up if you are all ready. How about the others? Okay. DM sa akin kasi. Yan, DM. Isulat yung word na false, then the answer. Yung format is false, overexposed, or false, underexposed. Ganun yung format. Pag overexposed lang, 1 point lang yan. Pag false lang, 1 point lang yan.
Sir, nauna ko na yung sagot mo, sir, bagay nga.
Yun lang. Okay, thumbs up. Item number 2. By the way, lagyan nyo pala ng item number sa sagot nyo. So, 2 dot then to indicate the item number that you are sending it. Yeah, very good. Ganyan. Yan. Okay? Hmm. Lumabas na. Number 3. Yan yung number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Yeah, no, number 7. Number 8. Number 9. The last item. Now, if you are done with the 10 items, please take a picture of your paper na kita yung name and section. Okay? Huwag nyo munang isi-send sa GC. Sabay-sabay tayo magsisend sa GC. So, picturean nyo muna. And prepare it to be sent in RGC. Thumbs up kung na-picturean nyo na yung paper nyo. Okay. Iko-close ko yung thread. Kapag na-send nyo na lahat, I'll give you 30 seconds to send it in RGC. Then I'll close the thread. After I close the thread, you are not allowed to send your paper. Okay, wala ka ng quiz pag di mo na send 30 seconds. Okay. So lahat na ready? Mag-unmute kung hindi pa kayo ready. Mag-send sa GC natin. Okay, so I guess everyone is ready. Sino hindi pa
Sir,
ready?
wait lang po.
Okay.
Next.
So I'll give you another 20 seconds to take a picture of that image of your test. Okay, so ready na si Clarice. And send it in our GC. Going once, going twice. Si Anson na yung pinaka-last.
Sir, wait lang po naglalag lang yung cellphone ko.
Sige lang. Wala, hindi niya ma-modify yan. Kasi ang sagot niya talaga yung tinamstamp niyo sa ating GC. I mean, yung thread natin sa Zoom. Nineteen. Okay, last na si Jennifer. Sino yung nag-message kanina?
Si John Moore po.
John Mark, okay ka na? Ayun. So, last na si John Mark.
Naglalag na.
Alright, so thread is closed. Okay, so ito na yung final lineup ng mga quiz nyo. Now, write corrected by yourself before I paste the answer. So here is the answer. If you're done checking, Thumbs up if you are done. Okay, write the equivalent grade. So 19 to 20, uno. 18, 1 to 5. 17, 1, 5. Yes, LJ.
Sir, sorry po. Paano po ulit yung checking, sir? Kasi nakadata lang po ako. Medyo hindi ko po siya narinig kanina po.
Ano lang, it's a total of 20 items. Then, pag true, 2 points. Pag false, check nyo kung tama yung modified answer niya. So, for example, item number 1, false, 1 point. Overexpose, another 1 point. Pag sinagot niya, false lang, 1 point lang yon. Ay, sinagot mo pala. Pag sinagot mo, false, then underexpose, wrong yung underexpose. So, 1 point lang din yon.
Okay po, thank you po, sir.
Okay? So, everyone, may total number of items, thumbs up if you have a total item number of your paper. Okay. So again, I will announce the equivalent score. 19 to 20, uno. 18, 1 to 5. 17, 1, 5. 16, 1, 7, 5. 14, and 15, dos. 13 to 25. 12 to 5. 11 to 75. 10, 3, 9 and below, 5. Thumbs up if you are done. All right. Now, if you have an equivalent grade, take a picture again and send it in our GC. Okay, so everyone is done. Remember, class, that any modification to the first image that you sent to the paper that you check will make your score invalid. Okay, so congrats to everyone and who got a grade of 1. Yes, pwede na. Okay, so everyone open your webcam for attendance purposes. Yes, LJ.
Sir, sorry po talaga, di talaga kinakaya ng data. Tanong ko lang po ulit yung equivalent kapag 11 po yung score.
Um, one moment. Two,
Sorry po.
275.
Thank you po, sir. Pasensya na po ulit.
One, two, three, and smile. Open your webcam. Great. So let's proceed to our next subject. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, take a break. Bye, everyone.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Babalik